how would we start?
Well, however you would like. Let me see. All right,
Okay.
so I am I'm recording our conversation here so that I can put it up on YouTube later because I wanted to get you on the record with some of the things that you had told me before. We had when we were working together, we got
Yeah.
into a little bit of a discussion about religion and stuff like that. So I thought,
Hmm.
I would like to get this on the record. Uh, and so here we are. So it's good that you're able to talk to me because I've been having trouble getting other people to to come
Okay.
on the record. So
Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem being on the record with anything because I don't know. Doesn't seem like a crazy thing to me, but
okay,
let's
that's
yeah
good. That's good.
start.
All right. So as I told you before, I'm an atheist. I
Hmm.
I don't I don't believe in God. I was brought up. I mean, my parents, they took us to church. Me and my brother and sister. They took us to church, but I, as I got older, I didn't really believe in it. I
Okay.
went back and forth. I went back and forth at some point because it was
Mhm.
like, how could it? How could all these people be wrong? How could all these people in church be wrong? The way they're singing and dancing, they must be
Mhm.
feeling something, right?
I feel
And so
you.
I wasn't
Relate.
really sure, but yeah, I don't believe that stuff anymore. Um,
Okay.
and so yeah, I watch a lot of videos of other atheists on YouTube,
Hmm.
like Sam Harris and
Like Christopher Hitchens.
yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson and stuff. But
Right.
you were telling me that you don't like those guys. So why don't you tell me about
Well,
your views?
I would say because I was raised like a little bit the same way. Like I was in church, in
Mm-hmm.
and out. But my family was never like super religious, so we didn't follow every doctrine like to the T. You know what I mean? Like we didn't do things strictly.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I went back and forth too. I was like, this just doesn't make any sense for somebody to believe in a God, and because for me, it was never clear. So now that I get older, I find myself getting closer to the idea that a God really does exist because the evidence that I've been looking, like I've been even listening to atheist arguments versus Christian arguments and like believers of God. And the reason why I mean I don't dislike the atheists as people. I'm not saying that. I just don't like their ideology because to me it doesn't make sense because in a lot of ways they contradict themselves because even as I find like more videos I see that atheists they come to the conclusion that there must be an intelligence behind the universe because we have scientific proof that okay the big bang happened there was a singular point that started the universe
Mm-hmm.
from nothing to something. So as I research more and more and I see all these videos, like I just feel enlightened to the fact that there is no other explanation for our being. So it's just to me it's really the only way to look at something because every other idea that you can come up with contradicts itself. So it's the only way for me that I see.
All right,
So
so I don't see how it's contradictory to say that when we look up at the sky at night and we see the galaxies
mhm,
and we measure their distance and their speeds and we notice that they're all moving away from each other, and then to hypothesize that maybe that movement is the result of a big bang that happened in the distant past. It doesn't seem contradictory to say that and then to say, we don't know what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know the details of everything that happened.
Hmm.
And
That
just to
is
stop there, that doesn't seem self-contradictory to me.
what I think it is because it's not that it's contradictory, it's that it's not a full explanation. It's not, you're saying that the Big Bang happened and that's all that happened. We can see all the points of as to why the Big Bang happened, and we can explain it that it's happening, that the universe is still expanding and all that, but it's not the full picture of it. Because to say that we can see something, like, yeah, I can see, like, in my room I can see all the things that I have and I can explain what they are, but why it was put into the place, like the fact that we have a universe that is so perfect for the conditions that we live in today, that is so perfect for having life in general, just to be able to have life. I feel like there really isn't a concrete way to say why it was put into place, unless you look outside of the barrier of what science is putting. Like, you can't just say, oh, it's just because that's how it is. But there must have been a start to it. Like, it has to follow that reasoning. If something was created, then there must have been something that created it. But also, you can't go to say that whatever it created the universe must have been created itself. You can't say that, because that creator is something that's outside of everything in the universe. It can't be what is in the universe that created itself. That right there is contradictory. What I'm saying is that it's something outside of the universe, and that's what I believe that God is. Something that is outside, that immaterial, spaceless, timeless being that created all this is what I believe.
All right, so when you see the things around in your room, and
Mhm,
you see that they're in certain places, are you
mhm.
struck by this deep philosophical question of why? Why are those things there? Is that the way you think? I mean,
Well,
or do you answer that question by saying, "Oh, well, I put it there"? That's or do you think,
yes, just like that. Because someone, it's like if you find some writing on a paper.
mm-hmm,
If you find that there's letters arranged on a piece of paper and it says something that you can coherently understand, and you don't see where else it could have came from, you would have to conclude that that message that you see, that information that you can understand, had a purpose. It wasn't just randomly put there and by chance. It's because it's something that you can understand. Like, I guess, like, you would say, why do I have one shoe next to the other? You must say, because there's a reason why they came together that way. Like, there's a reason why they're next to each other. You know what I mean?
okay, but okay. So where I want to go with this is, you were saying that there must be something, some deeper meaning because the universe is so perfect for life, but
Yes.
I don't think the universe is perfect for life, seeing as how we can't survive in many places in the universe. So it does
Okay.
seem like, it was a, it has a lot to do with chance. Don't you see
Okay.
that? So why not just say, um, we don't know exactly how life started. Okay, Some people may have some theories, but we don't know. And we don't know exactly how the universe started, although some people have theories or hypotheses.
Mhm.
And then just stop there without having to talk about, a disembodied consciousness that's that exists everywhere and yet nowhere in the universe. Timeless, spaceless. Why bother trying to hypothesize something that could not be scientifically proven?
Well, I believe it's because if I exist and I'm aware of my existence, if I'm conscious, and that's not something that I can see, I can't like you can't just say you can't measure what consciousness is. You can't put measurements on it. So it must be something that transcends what science can tell you. Do you understand? Like it's something beyond what we can understand.
What we currently understand, yes, but in the future
Yeah,
we may gain more understanding of what's going on.
we, we would understand of more of how it works, but we wouldn't understand why it was put into place. Now, the reason why I go into the why aspect of it is because even if you can say by chance that every aspect of life has been put together so perfectly, even if you say it is by chance, the way that the universe works and the craziness of how it all functions so perfectly together, how how do you even come to the conclusion that, oh, that just happened, like everything just
Well,
happened that way? It's
there are
just I
laws.
feel like that's such a a lazy way to think of it, because something that happens so perfect, like somebody can build an engine, they build all the little pieces of the engine, they have all the perfect measurements, and it all works together perfectly. They it's That's like saying they threw just random parts and it all came together and an engine started working. You know what
Well,
I mean? Like
remember,
mhm.
there are laws of physics, and the laws of
Yeah,
physics determine how things, you know, interact with each other. And so, once the laws of physics are determined, if you just keep applying those rules, those laws consistently, you'll get some kinds of patterns will emerge from that. So
well, that's exactly.
if we
Oh,
were to change the equations of physics and make the mechanics work a little differently, and we put that into a computer simulation, different results will come out. All right, and then if you give it enough time, you may see bigger structures or patterns coming out of it. Okay, and
yes.
and in that case, you could also say that, oh, look at this, everything's working together so perfectly that it created this kind of design or pattern in the universe,
Yeah.
and so you could make the same argument there. It don't you see?
Well, what I
It all comes down to the laws, the physical laws that you start with.
yes, but the laws, they don't govern themselves. Do you understand? A law is not something that can put itself in place. A law has to be given by something. It
So,
has to be.
wait a minute. Why do you? There's no need to make assumptions. There's no need to jump to that conclusion. I mean, why don't we just say, hey, that we see that there are physical laws, and we know how to calculate them, and we know what their results will be, and then we just stop there, and we just say, hey, we don't know like where the laws came from. We don't know exactly how the universe started, but assuming that the universe did start and had these particular laws at the beginning, we can do these calculations to figure out what would happen after that. And then we just stop there and we just wait for more information. I mean, maybe people in the future will find more ways to, find evidence for what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know. So why not just leave it at that?
Well, you could stop there, but I feel like the reason why a Bible was even constructed together was because people had that sense of, if everything's fitting together like this, and we're here, and we're conscious, we're like, we understand what reality is. If we're here for that reason, then I don't see how you can just leave it to chance. You know what I mean? Like, even the more that we come to an understanding of what how everything works around us, is just the more ways you can say that this is how God intended it to be. This is how the creator of everything intended for it to come together.
So
Because you said in the simulation, like, if we took the laws of physics and generated patterns, that's implying that somebody had to do it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody had to set that in motion. And what I'm saying is that God set it in motion to make these patterns work together over time. So saying that, oh, it just started, something must have started it. You you see what I mean?
I see what you're saying. First of all, just because something started doesn't mean that there must have been a person who started it. All right.
Oh, I'm
Um,
not saying that started it, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, the universe started, yes,
Mhm.
perhaps, or maybe we'll find out that there was some other way for the universe to be eternal. Um, and we don't know. We don't know further than the Big Bang. Just stop there instead of trying to posit, oh, there must have been someone who started the universe with those physical laws. I mean, we just throw up your hands and say, I don't know. That's a perfectly fine place to stop. And then when you mentioned the Bible, and haven't you heard that? I mean, isn't it possible that ancient people, they decided that there needs to be some way of um, some way of keeping people in check, and so maybe they would have decided to write some books, telling people how to live their lives. Could, couldn't that be a possibility?
Well, yes, of course, but you have to understand what was going on at the time. They didn't have the knowledge that we have now, so they just concluded it to something higher than themselves, that created everything and, like, made everything work. But that concept is still, it doesn't go away just because you can understand more about what's going on around you. It still lives in with it, because the more you see how everything works, the more you come to the conclusion that, like, if you use reasoning, you come to the conclusion that it was started with something, with a force that is so powerful. You, of course, you would not be able to fathom it, because you didn't create it yourself. It's something outside of you that created it. So, of course, they had the notion that a god did it, that they put a personification to it. Yes, but you can't simply debunk it just because they didn't know better, because now we do know better, and our reasoning concludes
All
that
right. So
even more,
so
that it's a god.
one of the things that you're saying is that the more science progresses, the more that
Mhm.
kind of shows that there must have been a god. But that doesn't follow for me. I
Okay.
mean, just because we find out more and more about what the laws are and how different particles interact with each other, that doesn't mean that. I mean, like, what would be the opposite situation where the more we learn, the more we realize that there is no God? What would that even look like in your view?
I feel like it's not even likely that there wouldn't be a God, because because you just notice that these things, it's like you can't help but put together the pieces of the puzzle and be like, wow. Like, you step back and you look at it and you're like, wow, somebody made these pieces fit so perfectly together, and it created something that is meaningful. It created something that has meaning and structure and order and beauty to it. So you don't just,
The universe can be
if
beautiful without the universe can be beautiful without all of that. I mean, you don't need to say that someone put it together. I mean, you can look up at the stars and see the galaxies and all of this stuff. You can say that it's beautiful. That doesn't mean that it's fitting together so perfectly. I mean, you keep coming back to how perfect the universe is and stuff, but remember, people are dying all over the place. We can't live outside of Earth, you know?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
dangerous out there.
that but the fact that this planet is the only planet that can even support life itself, that right there shows that there must be a reason for all that to, like, it must be a reason for life to exist. Like, there must have been a reason for it, if all we have is this planet that shows us that life is possible.
All right, and
So
so
to
if
even
aliens
that,
if aliens
you go ahead.
exist, what would change about your view if aliens
Nothing,
exist?
nothing would change, because something would have had to create the aliens as well. The aliens can't create themselves.
All right, but what about
And,
the Bible? Wouldn't that contradict what the Bible says?
and what does the Bible say about that?
You think let me see. Christians often think that life was created on Earth, and Earth is the center of the universe, and God put us on Earth for a purpose and all of this, and that seems to preclude life in other places.
Technically, no, because even some Christian scientists are looking at Genesis and the way the Bible speaks of the origin of the Bible. It even shows that there could have been, the way that God could have intended it to be is that He took life from one place, however that started, and put it here, set it here on Earth. So it doesn't like destroy the Bible in any credit of the Bible, because just because aliens have existed, because we could be the aliens, like, you understand, we could be the aliens as well. So it
Yeah.
doesn't really destroy the Bible at all.
Okay. So let me see. What other views do you hold about the Bible that are not not the standard view? Do you hold any controversial views about what the Bible actually means, or?
I suppose I do, because when I speak with my father is like, he's a Christian, like, he believes in God and all this, and he takes the Bible, from what I see, he takes it a little bit too literally. Because if you look at the Bible, if you think of it as the word of God, then of course you're gonna have questions about, oh, but why is all this happening that way in the Bible? Like, why is there all this bad stuff, and it speaks of so much bad in the world? But you have to understand, the Bible wasn't created by God; it was created by man. It was, people had stories that they wrote,
Hmm.
like, they came together and wrote all this stuff about what was happening around them. So they're gonna look at all this bad that's happening around them and put it on paper, because that's what was going on. So to take it literally, like, all the dogmatic properties of the Bible, or all the really strict rules that you see in the Bible, those aren't there. They're not set in place as, like, something like, if you don't follow this, you go to hell type stuff. Like, not for you to fear it. It's because it's put there for you to see that when you don't live this way, bad things happen. Like, it's a consequence of not following that structure, because that structure is showing you how to get the best out of what you have, best out of life. That's what I believe it is, and it shows even because it talks a lot about evil. It shows you more about what the evil is that's going on around us too. And if there's evil, that means there must be good as well, because you can't just have evil and you can't just have goodness. It has to be that there's both for them to both explain each other. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's just one way I see the Bible.
And so
That's a little bit
you're
different.
saying that some of the stories in the Bible are not there. There's a context to some of those stories that doesn't really
Yes.
apply to the modern day. So you don't take those parts as seriously as your father,
Not that I don't take them seriously, but
as literal.
I understand there's a difference between what they actually meant and what was said. So I can see the difference between them.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so you would agree that it's not possible to scientifically prove or disprove that there is a God, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So considering that, why not just save yourself some time and just stop caring about Christianity or other religions? Stop caring about the Bible and instead fill your time with things that actually can be scientifically proven, things that do matter. Like,
Okay. I mean,
do you
well,
even why bother going to church or reading the Bible or anything like that?
okay. Well, because science can only explain one side of the story. So if you just go living by what science can tell you, then you'll surely end up like doubting a lot of things, and you'll end up like suffering because even though something theoretically can work together so perfectly, that doesn't mean that in reality that it works together perfectly. So what the Bible teaches is how you can apply it to reality. You know what I mean? Like there's another side of it. It's not just science that can explain everything for you, because there's stuff that exists outside of science that you need to understand as well to be able to live.
Maybe you're talking about morality being the other side, or the way people are supposed to behave, the way we're supposed to interact with each other. All right? So there's science. Science is about how the world works, how how particles and objects behave. And then there's how humans should behave. How we think we should work together and how the government should be structured and stuff like that. All right? So if you have science and you have morality, then really there's no need to to be studying the Bible, right?
Why would you say that?
I thought that that's what you were getting at. With the science can't explain everything, because there's also morality, and science can't explain what the morally good choices are. But if you do have an idea of what is morally good and what's morally bad, and you live your life accordingly, then really there's a way to live without a need for a religion at all. Wouldn't you agree?
You could say that. You could say that there would be no need, but like in reality though, like your views would not align with everyone else's views. So you would say, okay, I think that this thing is right and this thing is wrong, but someone else can think the opposite. So you would constantly be
Okay, let's
conflicting with
how about
everybody that's around you.
all right. Let's start with a concrete example, okay? So, like, I believe it's morally good to work hard at work, okay? Now, you could say, well, sure, Chris, you believe it's morally good to work hard at work, but someone else could not believe it. They could believe, it's not morally bad to just be lazy, or They could say it's
It's
not good to work hard, right? Like maybe you believe it's not good to work hard at work, right? And then once what I would say is that's when we're supposed to have a debate with each other. We're supposed to argue about, why it's good to work hard or why it's not good to work hard. Okay, and we can have a debate. But instead of having a debate, it seems like what you want people to do is to look to the Bible to see what the Bible says about hard work. And then if people can agree that the Bible says it's good to work hard, then that solves the problem or something.
Yes, because I believe it really does. Like, otherwise, you would be debating forever. Like it would never
What
end
what
the debate
what is going
because
on in
someone.
Christianity? What's going on in Christianity? Haven't they
Well,
been
there is.
debating that? Aren't there so many different sects, different types of Christian?
Yes, yes, and I feel like that's not right because in the end, there's only one truth, and for them to go off of it like, oh, but we think this, but we think that, that's only because they don't have the evidence of science to help them understand. You see, that's when people go to only religion to solve their problems and to implement their reality. That's what happens when you don't have a union of both. You see, like you need to be able to have both sides of the story to be able come to a conclusion. That's why you see the debate there is in Christian worldviews as well. You see,
I see. I believe that the kinds of debates people get in when it comes to religion, they seem endless because there is no way to scientifically prove one way or the other who is right and who is wrong. All right, they can't prove that stuff scientifically, and that's why I think it's basically a waste of time to debate over such subjects, things that can't be proven, like religion. Now, with debates about morality, you can there are ways to get people to change their moral views through debate, and so it's not necessarily going to take forever.
I
So,
guess you could say that. But I just feel like because there's people that will hold one,
hold on a
they
second.
will,
Hold on. Your audio has gone down. Does your phone have battery?
yeah, I got battery. But it's a charge right now. I would have to be left it, so that's alright. But yeah, so, hold on. You can still hear me?
Yeah, it's just that the quality of the audio and the video has suddenly dropped.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know why.
It's connected. You said it's connected to the charger.
hmm
All right. Well, whatever. Go ahead.
But, so going off of what you were saying, what was that? Like, how the debate could not be endless, right?
Right.
I feel, I feel like there's just people that will hold to one view no matter what because they don't have a basis to go off of. So they would go off of what they think only, and that would conflict with what everyone wants to apply. That would conflict it automatically.
Okay. And you think that looking to the Bible solves that problem?
yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir, I do. Because, but what we need though, we can't just throw the Bible in a school and have them teach what is in the Bible. I feel like we need to have a constructive way to view the Bible so everyone has the context in mind and the facts in mind for what the Bible's teaching. Like I was watching a video with Neil deGrasse Tyson saying like I think it's bad to put religion into schools because it's not teaching the kids the right thing. But in the end, if you put just science, you're also not teaching them the right thing either that way, because that's only a description of what's going on around you. It doesn't explain why you are what you are. It doesn't explain why you're human. It only tells you that you got a bunch of cells inside of you and they do all these things to make you work, but it doesn't tell you why you are working and why you exist. Because that is the biggest question today, is why do we exist? And the more we stray from it and say, oh, it doesn't matter, the more we say that, the more we see that there is problems arising from this. Because you can see today that there's poor people because governments don't want to like help these people in many cases. Like, you can see that that's because they're choosing one side over the other instead of coming together and helping like everyone. You know what I mean? Like, you can see the effects that's
All
going
right.
on
So
in
first of
society.
all, having the Bible or religion in schools would, in fact, be illogical. Um, yeah, that would be a bad idea because, like I said before, there's no way to scientifically prove religions to be true or false. And so you'd have all the different religions fighting to get their books into the schools, and there's no way to choose between them. Um, so that needs to be kept out. And and like I said before, why we can teach the kids science, all right, and we can teach the kids morality, all right, how they should behave, and how they should treat each other. That is that's that's complete enough. You don't need to know why you exist, besides that your mother and your father, got together. Well, I mean, such philosophical questions are. See, I don't really care for academic philosophy. There are certain types of questions that academic philosophers like to ask each other as if they're getting at some super deep meaning or something. But I don't think they actually make progress, and that's why their debates continue endlessly, just going in circles. And so I don't really care for those deep why do I exist questions. Um, yeah, so the less we burden kids with those kinds of things, the better, I think. They can spend their time doing things that will lead to progress.
Okay. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Like, just not caring. But that leaves, what I've noticed with myself is that the more, when I was going back and forth between believing in God and not believing in Him, the more I said that I don't care about Him, or that I don't care to even find out the meaning behind something, is the more I felt empty inside. You understand? Like, the more I felt like, wow, then there really isn't even a point in living. And in
That
that
that's
in that case, it drove me to like what you would call like suicidal thoughts and all that, because I was making the choice of not caring about it. So what I decided to do, because it's a very personal thing, you yourself, it's an individual decision that you have to come to. It's not that somebody can come and convince you. It's not that somebody can come and tell you for sure. You have to make the decision yourself to believe in something. Otherwise, you would find the destruction of yourself in that case.
all right. So
Is what I believe.
if you want to believe in something, that's fine. Believe in something that can actually do good in the world, though. Believe that your purpose
Okay.
is to help other people, like the poor people you mentioned earlier. Why don't
It's-
you try to come up with a
That's
plan to help more and more poor people? How about that?
that's you see, that's exactly what the Bible teaches, though.
You don't need
Is
the
that's
Bible. Put the Bible down. The Bible's beside the point. Don't worry about the Bible, okay? We need to
that's
do something more
that's
concrete.
that's the funny thing is that because science can never teach you the way to live. So
Morality can do that.
that's why I look into the Bible and see that
You
Jesus
okay?
tells you to help people, to love your neighbor, and if these things are bad, then okay, then I'll stop doing them. But who can tell me that it's bad to love someone? You know what I mean? So if the Bible is teaching me that you should love yourself, and it is it is driving to the point that God made it this way so that you should love your neighbor, and that is the good thing to do. It teaches you that you should strive to help these things and help the progress into making a better society. Like it doesn't tell you to go like do whatever you want, like go kill somebody if you want to. It doesn't tell you that. It tells you the exact opposite, to do good and to make
I
a
didn't.
good thing for you in the future, you know?
There are other places you can go to get those kinds of messages. There's morality outside of the Bible. There's tons of people who, are secular or atheists who don't go around killing people and who do want to help poor people. I mean, why not talk to them? And the idea that, like, if you don't, yeah, it's strange for you to say that, oh well, if there is no God, and then that means there's no meaning and I may as well kill myself or something. That doesn't follow. It's like there are so many things you could be doing to help the rest of the world.
Yeah, but why are you helping if in the end it won't matter? You see? Like in the end
Like I
everything's
said,
just
because you're helping them. That's the thing. I mean, it does.
so why is it good to
It makes a
help people?
difference. If it makes a difference in the future, right?
Okay. And that's what the Bible teaches though.
You
That's
don't need
why I
the
follow.
Bible. You don't need the Bible to get that message. You don't need the Bible to know to help people. The Bible is a waste of time to if your goal is to help more and more people, then you could just start looking for ways to help people instead of taking a sidetrack to see which way the Bible wants you to help people. You can just ask atheists, secular humanists, and people like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah.
yeah, again, like it's really not it, it's not that atheists don't have a sense of morality because everybody has a sense of morality. But you see, science can't tell you where that came from though. Science can't tell
That's
you
beside
like,
the point.
oh, okay, you could say that. Like, I mean, but it's evident nonetheless. It's true even if you don't believe it. You just have to face the facts and come to the decision. If you come to the decision that it's not true, then that's you. Like, but you nonetheless you have to come to a decision. So what I've done is I came to the decision that God started the universe and he intended it for good, and the Bible teaches that basically that and how we should like conduct ourselves and all that because he created it. And my evidence for believing in the Bible just comes from researching and coming to the conclusion of it. And now you can say, yeah, all the other like religions and spiritual people, they teach like morality too, but to know that it's true and to like physically know, like, or not physically but like to know that it's true, they wouldn't satisfy. Only coming from the evidence that you conclude, the Bible satisfies every single one of those things. And you just have to research it and you just have to put in the effort to look at what it's trying to say, put the pieces together, and you come to your conclusion. Like that's all I can say, you know.
All right. All right. So
But that's
let's let's switch topics and talk a little bit about politics, I guess. So, why don't you tell me what your political views are?
Well, at this point, I just I don't like what's going on in politics at the moment because I don't feel like we're pushing ourselves any closer to a unity. Because what I believe in is that we should be pushing towards unity and not self-destructiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what's going on right now. So I don't take a certain view either way. I'm not to the left. I'm not to the right. You could say I'm in the center, but I'm not saying like in the center like I don't want to pick a side. I'm saying we should take both sides and put them together.
Uh huh.
Like I just
So, so do you do you identify more with Democrats or Republicans, or are you saying neither?
I
What
would
about what
say
about in the past? Had did you feel more unity in the past, and then we got worse?
I felt like we might have been pushing towards the direction, but at some point in time, it came a point where people just decided to go for the wrong stuff, and now we're driving ourselves to chaos in that manner. Like the fact that the government stopped a lot of people from putting like clean energy alternatives to like fossil fuels and all the non-renewable resources that we have. The fact that they stopped that from happening and going to a better society, that's right there just like tells me that okay, I can't trust these people in the government right now because they do not have a clear like sense of importance of where we should be. They obviously believe that money is the ruler of the world, which is just it's not the right way to go.
Uh huh. So
So I
uh,
wouldn't be Democrat or Republican. I would try to say put both of the ideas together and don't conflict.
did you vote? And did
I
you
well
vote?
I did not. I wasn't old enough to vote,
Oh,
but I'm gonna
okay.
register. I'm gonna register now.
Oh, okay. How old are you?
19 right now.
Oh, okay. Um, let me see. So basically, I'm on the left. I'm a Democrat.
Okay.
And so the way I see it is the more left you go, the better, and the better you are, the better a person you are. Um, People who are further to the left are the ones who are more upstanding, the ones who are less hypocritical, the ones who are more and more ideal. Um, they tend to care more for other people. They tend to be nicer and
Hmm.
and work harder and and basically anything that's good, anything that you would say would be good qualities for a person to exhibit, those qualities exist on the left, and and so the further left you go, the better. And then the opposite of that is to the right. All right, and and so I think it's strange when people say that both sides, there's something wrong with both sides. You know, people who say that they're more in the center. It's like, why would you want to be in the center when it comes to these qualities? Um, yeah, so it's like for example, I I think it's morally bad to act hypocritically, right? And so I the less people act hypocritically, the better. All right. So if I look out in the world and I see people contradicting themselves and acting contrary to what their moral views, what their stated moral views are, then I would say that that's bad, and I would criticize them for acting hypocritically, right?
Mm.
And then you or some other person who wants to be more in the center would say, hey, wait a minute now. We need to unify. We have the non hypocritical people and the hypocritical people need to come together in the center as one. And it's like, no, no. Everyone
Okay,
needs to move to the left.
if I could say something about it's not because it's not that because what it sounds like is that you're going by what the people are doing, and people are not perfect. So just because they have a set of structures that they claim to follow does not mean that they follow them. And what I'm saying is that in order for us to be able to even comprehend what is going on, we need to look at the fundamentals of what each side is saying and take them together to be able to form something that we can all follow and not feel some type of way about. You wouldn't have to criticize someone for doing something wrong if you understand, okay, well there's like a reason why. You know what I mean? Like it's a person. It's a person that's making choices, and people are make mistakes all the time. So to criticize someone for that is just it's kind of silly, I feel. So you would have to have structure and liberation of both. You need both in order for anything to work. So that's why it might sound far out to someone who's on one side of the spectrum or the other. That's because they can't grasp the fact that there is a balance between them, and we just need to find that balance.
So you're saying that liberation is opposed to structure? Um, I don't. Yeah, stuff like that. I don't understand where you're coming from yet. I haven't spoken to you enough to see exactly what your specific ideals are. Um,
Hmm.
like, what about what did you think about Obama? Did you have any opinions about Obama at all?
Um, Not too many opinions really. Like he was just another president that did what I feel is probably the best he could in that job. So like I mean I don't criticize him for anything that he did because he had his ideological ideas that he followed, and he followed it to the best of his ability, I feel. So I mean
What
I don't have
about
any.
okay? Let's start with Obamacare. What do you think about Obamacare?
Well, I would have to know exactly what Obamacare did. I mean I
You
didn't
don't know the
research too much.
you don't know the details of that. Okay. Hmm. All right. Well, never mind.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't really look too much into that yet. I mean, I'm not
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the
my
things you could
parents.
do instead of reading the Bible. See, that's learning about those kinds of details. That would be much more beneficial instead of going in circles reading different interpretations of the Bible and stuff. But yeah. Anyway. Um. All right. So we can wrap it up here.
Okay. Okay, that
All
sounds
right.
good then.
Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem, man.